Discover the inspiring transformation of a girl sent to a farmer, a hidden fortune revealed. Dust danced in the sunlight as Emily Johnson stepped out of her family's car. The warm, heavy air wrapped around her like a suffocating blanket. Gone were the city noises of honking horns and chattering friends. Instead, an eerie silence stretched across vast fields of green and gold that seemed to swallow her whole life whole. This was not a new adventure. This was exile. As she dragged her suitcase along the dirt path, bitterness brewed in her heart, anger simmering beneath the surface. Betrayed by her mom's harsh decision to send her away to a distant relative, a farmer, no less, Emily felt her dreams slipping away, like the clouds that drifted lazily in the sky. The first few days on the farm were painful. She couldn't help missing the life she knew, the craze of the city, her vibrant friends laughing and dreaming of bright futures. Here, the rhythm was slow, dictated by the sun's arc and the insistence of chores. The cicadas hummed a constant tune, reminding her that time passed differently in this place. Yet with each sunrise, as she shouldered the burdens of farm life, something began to shift inside her. One sweltering afternoon, while struggling to improve her tractor skills, Emily felt her frustration boil over. She dropped the tools and marched to the barn, a sanctuary of memories. As she rummaged through the clutter, something caught her eye: a leather-bound journal, worn and dusty, as if it had been forgotten for years. Curiosity piqued, she opened it and was met with her grandfather's elegant handwriting. His words leaped off the pages, chronicling tales of toil and triumph, laughter and loss. Time stood still as Emily discovered a legacy shaped by farming, a tale of love for the land and a family's resilience. Suddenly, she wasn't just an outsider anymore. Her grandfather's struggles echoed her own, intensifying her internal battle. Her heart raced as she felt a connection to the very earth beneath her feet, a sense of belonging forging through her resentment. That journal ignited a fire within her, compelling her to understand the richness of her roots and the sacrifices her family made for her to find value in every grain that grew from this land. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the town's annual harvest festival approached, excitement buzzed in the air. This was more than just a celebration, it was a gathering of spirits, a showcase of their history and hard work, but also an opportunity to confront deeply ingrained prejudices about rural life. Would Emily choose to publicly support her struggling community, the people she'd come to care for, or would she retreat into the shadows of her past, clinging to the identity she once had? In that pivotal moment, standing among those fighting their own battles yet united, Emily felt her heart pounding. The faces before her, sincere and hopeful, needed a voice, her voice. She was still on the precipice of transformation, and the path before her seemed both daunting and full of promise. Would she rise to the occasion, or would she let fear guide her back to the familiar chaos of her old life? As the festival lights flickered to life, the choice loomed large, a promise of change hanging sweetly in the air. The morning of the harvest festival dawned bright and clear, the sun spilling golden light over the fields like frosting on a cake. Emily watched from her bedroom window as the farm came alive, her uncle and a few neighbors setting up booths and decorations in the town square. She could feel the pulse of the community's excitement, blending with her own nervous energy. This was more than just a festival, it felt like a threshold, an invitation to step into a world she had been resisting for so long. As she stepped outside, the warmth of the sun enveloped her, but a cool breeze whispered doubts into her ears. What if the townsfolk remembered her as the city girl who didn't belong? What if they viewed her efforts as clumsy or insincere? Shrugging off the thoughts, she took a deep breath and moved toward the commotion, her heart thumping in her chest. The aroma of freshly baked pies filled the air, mingling with laughter and the sound of music. Her uncle greeted her with a warm smile, his eyes twinkling with pride. "You ready to pitch in, Emily?" he asked, handing her a bright red apron. She took it, suddenly grateful for the task ahead. This was her chance to prove herself, not just to the others but to herself. As she helped set up the pumpkin toss game, she found herself chatting with Mrs. Thompson, an elderly neighbor with a rich laughter that bubbled just below the surface. "You know," Mrs. Thompson said, leaning in conspiratorially, "this festival isn't just for fun. It's a reminder of who we are and what we stand for. Every pumpkin, every pie, they all tell a story." Emily hung on to Mrs. Thompson's words. She could sense the history and pride woven into the very fabric of the festival. Glancing around, she noticed families working together, sharing stories and joy, the very ties she had thought lost to her. As the festival officially began, people from all over town gathered. Children chased each other between stalls, their laughter a melody against the backdrop of folk music. Emily felt a beckoning pull, an urge to participate fully. She stood by a booth that showcased handmade crafts, where a few residents began to share their experiences as farmers, recounting tales of failures and successes over the years. With every story, Emily felt the weight of her fears begin to lift. She was no longer just an observer but part of this shared history. When it was her turn to share, the words spilled out of her. "I fought it for so long," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "But now I realize this isn't just land or work. It's family, it's legacy." An encouraging murmur spread through the crowd, and for the first time, warmth flooded her chest, mixing with a sense of belonging. The fear that had clung to her dissipated, replaced by a newfound confidence. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the festival, Emily looked out at the faces around her filled with hope, laughter, and encouragement. It was her moment, and she was ready to embrace it fully. Yet, as she felt truly at home, the shrill cry of a troubled voice broke through the cheer, pulling her attention toward the edge of the celebration. Someone was shouting, and the crowd turned. Emily's heart dropped. What was happening? Would this moment of connection shatter into chaos? Her steps quickened as she moved closer, ready to face whatever challenge lay ahead. Little did she know, this was only the beginning of a deeper revelation waiting to unfold. Emily pushed her way through the gathering crowd, the laughter and music that had once wrapped around her like a cozy blanket now fading into a murmur. All she could hear was the frantic shouting. It came from the far end of the festival, where shadows mingled with flickering lantern light, warping the joyful scene. Her pulse raced as she reached the front. A commotion had broken out. A group of people had encircled a man who looked frantic, his hands gesticulating wildly as he spoke. "It's gone. The prize pumpkin is gone." His face was flushed, panic etched into every line. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Emily's heart sank deeper. The prize pumpkin was the symbol of the festival. It wasn't just fruit, it represented a year of hard work, community spirit, and pride. If it was really gone, what would that mean for the town? "Did you check the barn?" a woman called out from the side. "The barn? It's probably chained up with the rest of the supplies," someone else snapped. As confusion spiraled, Emily felt a surge of determination. She couldn't stand by. She stepped through the throng, raising her hand. "Wait. What if we searched? Maybe we can find it together." It wasn't a moment she had expected to become part of, but suddenly, she felt a fierce need to help. Faces turned toward her, uncertainty mingled with hope. She could see it in their eyes, the same glimmers she had seen earlier that day. Several town members nodded, their collective spirit reigniting. "All right. Let's split up," the frantic man said, his voice hoarse yet gaining strength. "Search every corner. We'll desperately need it for the competitions." Without waiting for further instructions, Emily dashed toward the nearby corn maze, the rustling leaves whispering around her. The festival had turned into something unexpected, a new way for her to connect with the community, to fight alongside them. Emily. Someone called, and she glanced back to see her uncle running after her. She stopped, turning as he caught up. "Be careful. We don't know what might have happened to the pumpkin. Uncle, if we don't find it, the festival could fall apart. This is our chance to show we belong here, to be part of this community," she insisted, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. He hesitated for a moment, then nodded, the pride in his eyes complementing her determination. "Lead the way then, but let us stick together." As they searched the maze, each rustle of the corn echoed like a heartbeat against the unfolding chaos. Emily called out for others to join in, and soon more townspeople scurried in, peering through the towering stalks. Moments turned into minutes, laughter turned to whispers of encouragement. The festival festivities hung in the balance, tied to the fate of that massive pumpkin. Yet, amid the frantic search, Emily could feel something deeper at play. She was discovering what it truly meant to belong, to care for something greater than herself. Then, a voice cried out from the far side of the maze, shattering her thoughts. "Over here. I found something." Everyone froze for a heartbeat before sprinting toward the sound. Emily's heart raced, a mix of dread and anticipation swelling in the air. What had they found? As they reached the source of the shout, a strange sense of possibility coursed through Emily. Little did she know, what they were about to uncover would intertwine their lives with unexpected threads of fate. What lay ahead? Would it truly be the prize pumpkin, or something else entirely? The crowd rushed toward the voice, a wave of energy that pulled Emily along with it. As they arrived at the far side of the maze, the tall cornstalk swayed, parting to reveal a small clearing illuminated by the gentle glow of lanterns. There, on the ground, lay not the prize pumpkin but something that stopped everyone in their tracks: a weathered wooden box, half buried in the dirt. "Is that?" someone whispered, stepping forward, eyes wide with curiosity. Emily knelt beside the box, her fingers delicately tracing the carvings etched into the wood. The patterns were intricate, telling stories long forgotten. With a grunt, she tugged at the lid, and it creaked open, dust spiraling around them like the memories trapped inside. Inside the box lay an assortment of old photographs, tangled letters, and even trinkets: a tarnished locket, a chipped porcelain doll. The townspeople gathered closer, their earlier panic momentarily forgotten, replaced by intrigue. "Those were my grandmother's," a woman exclaimed from the back, her voice tinged with surprise. "She used to say she buried treasures all around the town when she was a girl." Emily's heart raced as she flipped through the memories encapsulated within the box. Photographs of the town in its early days shimmered under the dim light, the faces smiling brightly against their old surroundings. The letters spoke of friendships and journeys, of laughter and dreams. Suddenly, the festival's significance transformed in her mind. It wasn't just a celebration of a pumpkin, but a tribute to the community's roots, how far they had come together. Maybe this is what we've been looking for," Emily ventured, her voice steady, yet woven with uncertainty. "This could be our chance to share our story, to unite the festival around where we came from instead of just who can carve the biggest pumpkin." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Her uncle smiled proudly, and she felt a warmth spread through her. A boy in the crowd piped up, "If we can find out more about this stuff, maybe we can bring those stories back to the festival. Make it all about community." More heads bobbed in agreement. Emily felt a thrill run through her, a sense of purpose she hadn't known before. They could use this box as a centerpiece, as a way to encourage everyone to share their own stories, to celebrate every aspect of their community, and maybe, just maybe, they would even find the pumpkin in the process. As excitement bubbled up around them, a woman stepped forward, her eyes sparkling. "Let us make a festival book. We can share all our stories, both old and new. It'll be a celebration of everything we are." The crowd erupted into a buzz of ideas, laughter and chatter filling the air, weaving a tapestry more intricate than the pumpkin's vines. For the first time that day, Emily felt the weight on her shoulders lift. They were moving forward together. But as they talked and planned, a shadow rippled across the ground, a chill slipping through the festive atmosphere. There, standing at the edge of the maze, was a figure cloaked in darkness, watching them with a keen interest. Emily's heart skipped. Who were they? And what did the stranger want? Unbeknownst to her, this moment was only going to unfold into a series of revelations she couldn't have anticipated. The festival, the stories, the prize pumpkin, all were just the beginning. What lay ahead was about to uncover more than she had ever imagined. The figure lingered at the edge of the maze, a silhouette against the soft glow of lantern light. Emily's pulse quickened as she met their gaze. Something about the stranger felt familiar, as if a shadowy piece of her own past was reaching out to her. The murmurs of the crowd faded into the background, replaced by the thumping in her chest. "Who is that?" A voice whispered nervously from her side, breaking her concentration. Someone edged closer, trying to catch a better view. I don't know," Emily stammered, pulling herself back to the present, still clutching the box. But deep inside, she felt a pull, as if a thread tugged at her heart. She had seen this figure somewhere, or perhaps this person simply represented parts of her that were still buried. The crowd's excitement wasn't as palpable anymore. They exchanged wary glances, confusion marring the hopes they had just ignited. "Let's keep looking through the box," a girl interrupted, enthusiasm bubbling up again as she leaned toward Emily. Laughter returned, but the figure remained, unmoving, and something in Emily's gut urged her to confront the unknown. "Hold on," she said, stepping away from the group, determined. She walked toward the figure, each step pushing her tension aside, igniting a determination within her. "Hey!" she called out, her voice steady. The figure shifted, revealing more of themselves, a face partially obscured by a hood. "Do you need something?" Emily asked, curiosity fueling her courage. A flicker of surprise crossed the figure's face, as if they hadn't anticipated being addressed directly. "I am looking for something," the stranger replied, their voice low yet resonant, weaving through the crisp evening air. "Something in the box?" Emily stepped closer, her pulse steadying just a bit. The figure nodded subtly. The crowd behind her quieted, anticipation hanging between them. Emily felt the weight of their hopeful gazes on her. She carefully turned over the photographs, revealing more buried memories. "Things you've lost?" Emily ventured, her eyes searching the stranger's face. "Or something you want to find?" A moment of hesitation lingered before the figure began to lower their hood, revealing a pair of striking blue eyes framed by strands of dark hair. "Not just anything, but someone special," they replied with a hint of regret. Emily's heart sank. The connections she felt to the box felt profound, yet here was an echo of her own patterns. "The stories inside might lead you to them," she suggested, instinct pulling her towards empathy. "You could share your story too, if you'd like." A glimmer of hope sparked in the stranger's eyes. "My family, we lived through the same moments captured in these photographs." Voices rose again behind her, the townsfolk inching closer, each person curious about this new dynamic. The energy was shifting, growing more intense with each exchanged glance. "Let us hear it. Tell us what you know." One voice called, prompting a wave of agreement from the crowd. As the dark figure began to step forward, Emily found herself resonating with the idea of community they had just discussed. A sense of change was blooming around her, rich with possibility. Emotional threads weaved together, connecting past and present in a way she couldn't fully comprehend. But the moment tightened into uncertainty as the figure hesitated again, glancing toward the lanterns and towards the clearing filled with the townsfolk, ready to embrace them. Would they reveal their truth? Would the festival truly transform into something more? "Wait," Emily said, uncertainty creeping back in. What if there's more to learn? More hidden truths?" The figure's gaze locked onto hers, and a shared realization transcended the space between them. They could uncover untold stories, but they needed to tap into the full depth of the box they'd found, together. As more questions bubbled to life, Emily took a deep breath, ready for whatever came next. She had already stepped into her own awakening. The festival was not merely about pumpkins anymore. But before she could voice the next step, a loud crash echoed from the other side of the maze, prompting gasps from the crowd. What was that? Someone shouted. An unknown tension filled the air, and Emily turned to find the crescent of conversations fading away, replaced with dread. This night was only just beginning, and the heart of the festival was about to be tested. Would it be love or fear that ruled them? Emily felt the shift in the air like an electrical charge, each gasp from the crowd feeding her own unease. She turned to the source of the noise, her heart thumping wildly in her chest. Lanterns flickered as anxious whispers buzzed around her. The atmosphere, once celebrated and light, was now heavy with uncertainty. What was that? She breathed, her voice barely rising above the murmurs. The figure in front of her, whose eyes glimmered with unspoken pain, glanced back toward the maze. "We should go," they whispered urgently, the urgency of their tone sending shivers down Emily's spine. Her instincts kicked in, and she took a step closer to them, almost defiantly. "No," she said, surprising herself. "We need to stay. Something is happening, and I think it's connected to us." The crowd hesitated, a sea of confused faces searching for direction. Just then, another crash echoed through the maze, louder this time, and a brittle tree branch cracked under the strain of panic. Emily's heart sank. This wasn't just an accident, something was breaking apart, possibly their night, possibly even deeper bonds. "Listen!" she called out, raising her voice to reach the collective tension in the air. "We can't let fear divide us. We're here to share our stories and connect." Her words hung like a lifeline. She saw the flicker of hope start to return to some faces, eyes shifting from fear to curiosity. The dark figure beside her raised an eyebrow, impressed but still wary, their hood drifting back slightly to reveal more of their features, a sharp jawline, deep lines around the eyes, crafted from experiences etched in memory, much like the photographs in Emily's box. "If you're with me, we'll face whatever is happening together," Emily continued, eyes pleading with her audience. Slowly, a few brave souls stepped closer, their fingers brushing against the glowing lanterns as they lit up their surroundings. They were drawn to Emily's conviction, she could feel it in the air, a shift echoing in their collective heartbeat. "Think about it." She pushed forward, energy bubbling inside her. "What if this crash is a sign? What if there's a truth waiting to be uncovered?" People began to murmur among themselves, the previously disjointed whispers now forming a cohesive buzz, catching the spark of hope Emily was trying to ignite. The dark figure at her side seemed to soften, their resolve hardening. "I've spent too long living in the shadows," the figure admitted. "I thought I could find my past on my own, but maybe I need the community. Maybe we all do." The crowd started to focus on that shared moment, the dark figure facing them all now. "If we can share not just our fears but our memories, who knows what we might discover." Emily felt a thrill pass through her, like they had transcended fear into something more powerful. The hope blossomed, intertwining with the fading memories of loss. They could connect their stories, each thread weaving into a tapestry of shared experience. Just as the atmosphere began to shift, ready to embrace collaboration, a shadow surged from the entrance of the maze, drawing all gazes. A figure stumbled through the darkness, their silhouette stark against the flickering light. Emily's heart dropped. The presence was undeniable, infused with urgency. "It's him!" someone shouted, pointing. "Who?" Emily managed to ask, her breath hitching as recognition flared in her chest. But the figure stepped forward, breaking into a running start, panic straining their every inch. "You don't understand." They gasped, glancing back as if something pursued them. "What is happening?" Emily pressed, her heart racing. The stranger's eyes locked onto hers, wild yet pleading. "You have to listen, there are secrets in the maze, and they're awakening." Before she could respond, a second crash echoed more violently only a short distance away, splitting through the rapidly thickening tension. "What secrets?" Emily asked, urgency twisting her insides. But the stranger didn't get the chance to answer. The darkness around them buzzed with uncertainty and fear as everything shifted. Again, urging her to dig deeper into the night ahead. And here she stood, on the edge of great discovery. What lay ahead a tantalizing mystery, but would they face the truths waiting in the shadows, or would the darkness consume them first? Emily's heart raced as she stood frozen in place, a flurry of emotions swirling within her. The stranger's wild eyes, frantically searching the crowd, resonated with a primal fear that echoed in her own chest. The air crackled with an energy that felt heavy, like a storm waiting to break. "Listen. We need to go, now," the stranger implored again, hands shaking as they gestured wildly back toward the maze. The crowd was no longer whispering, now, they were transfixed, held captive by an urge to understand, but also by the dread emanating from the stranger. Emily took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the lantern light flicker against her skin. "Wait," she called, stepping forward. Her voice broke through the cacophony. "If we run, we might miss something important. If there are secrets, we need to uncover them together." The dark figure beside her moved closer, their presence surprisingly grounding. "She's right. We can't let fear dictate our actions. If there is a truth in the maze, we need to face it. Together." Their voice was calm yet firm, drawing attention back to Emily. The atmosphere shifted slightly, tension softening just enough to light flickers of courage within the crowd. Emily felt the fire inside her rekindle, pushing away the doubt that threatened to consume her. She turned to the frightened stranger, sensing how the stories they all carried were starting to weave together. "Who is chasing you?" Emily asked gently, her expression softening, but the urgency remained. "If you know about the maze, then you can help us." "I didn't mean to bring this here," the stranger said, guilt heavy in their eyes. "But it's too late. Something ancient is waking up, something powerful. It's drawn to us, drawn to our fears and our truths." A ripple of concern spread across the crowd, but Emily could see curiosity mingling with that fear. "What do you mean powerful?" she pressed. "What secrets could possibly awaken?" "I only caught whispers," the stranger admitted. "A hidden truth about this place, connected to all of you. Stories buried deep they've begun to unravel. If we don't confront them, the darkness could consume us one by one." It felt as if a shroud of silence fell over the crowd, souls standing on the precipice of something momentous. Emily's breath caught. So many had come to share tales of joy, heartbreak, triumph, and loss. Was there something more intertwined that they had yet to uncover? The distant crashing snarled again, reverberating through the trees surrounding them. Wood splintered and a gust of wind swept through, almost like a warning. The lanterns flickered, shadows leaping as uncertainty blanketed them once more. Emily's resolve hardened, fueled by the specter of what lay ahead. "If we hold on to our stories, we can harness that power," she said, her eyes scanning the crowd. "We can create a light so strong that it will drive back the darkness. But we need to act together." She felt the thrill of connection swell in the air, emotions flooding their gathering like a surge of electricity. The stranger's gaze met hers, holding a glimmer of hope, perhaps a hint of belief that they could conquer whatever lurked in the shadows. The figure shifted, nodding slightly. "You're right. But we must enter the maze now. Stick together, and no matter what happens, don't let go." Fingers intertwined, helping one another step forward into the darkness, they felt the collective heartbeat echo around them, strength emanating from their combined courage. As they moved toward the path leading into the maze, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Secrets awaited them, and they had chosen to confront not just the maze, but also the lingering shadows within themselves. But just as they entered the dense underbrush of the maze, a voice cried out from behind, "Wait! You don't know the truth behind the shadows." Emily turned, heart skittering. Who else was lurking behind? What did they know that might change everything? What other secrets were hidden just beyond the reach of the lantern light? Emily's pulse quickened as she turned around to face the newcomer. The dim lantern light struggled to reveal the figure emerging from the shadows, but there was something familiar about that voice, the urgency, the raw edge of fear. The crowd behind her shifted uneasily, a ripple of uncertainty washing over them like a wave. The stranger, still trembling, glanced back at Emily with an expression that mixed worry and determination. "We can't just go blindly into the maze. The truth isn't what you think. It can change everything." "Change everything?" Emily echoed, her brow furrowing. "What does that mean? Are you saying we should turn back? We can't let fear control us." The voice from behind stepped forward, illuminated by the flickering lanterns. Emily recognized the speaker, a woman with wild hair and eyes that sparkled with intensity. It was Nora, a bold storyteller known for weaving tales of heroism and adventure. "You have to understand, Emily. The maze is more than just a place, it's a reflection of our own fears, our own pasts. When we enter, we might face things we're not ready to confront." Emily felt a weight settle in her chest. Nora's words struck a deep chord. She had come seeking stories, wanting to share and connect, but how much of her own truth was buried beneath her carefully crafted facade? What if the shadows she hadn't faced were lurking right there in the maze? "Then maybe we need to confront those shadows together," she replied, voice steady. "If we understand our fears, we can break free from them. It's time to face the past." Nora's expression softened, cracks of doubt and fear momentarily replaced by a flicker of hope. The crowd, watching with bated breath, seemed to draw strength from Emily's determination. "All right," Nora said, stepping closer, her voice lowering. "But if we do this, we must promise each other something. No matter what happens in the maze, we face it together. No one is left behind." The stranger nodded vigorously, gripping Emily's hand. "We can't lose another soul to the darkness. There's a way forward, and it begins with our stories." In that moment, the bonds formed tighter around them, an unbreakable promise forged from fear and bravery. The path into the maze beckoned, an inviting darkness that also felt terrifying. Emily took a step forward, pulling the group along behind her. The deeper they ventured, the more the shadows seemed to stretch and whisper. Branches reached out like curious fingers, brushing against their skin as they moved cautiously. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed, and the ground trembled beneath them. A flash of light glinted just ahead, shimmering like a beacon through the darkness. "Do you see that?" whispered a voice, filled with awe. "What is it?" Emily asked, heart racing with excitement and dread. As they pressed forward, the light pulsed with an energy that felt alive. Emily felt it in her bones. It was a force ancient and powerful, drawing them in closer. But what did it reveal? And what would they find when they reached it? With courage swelling in her chest and uncertainty flooding her mind, Emily tightened her grip on her companions. The maze was a labyrinth of shadows, but perhaps it also held hidden truths. They were ready to discover what lay ahead, no matter the cost. But in the depths of the maze, another figure lurked, witnessing their approach with eyes that glinted in the dark. And as they drew closer, Emily could feel something sinister intertwine with the light, a warning echoing softly through the branches. What truths awaited them at the heart of the maze, and would they be enough to save them? The light grew brighter as they advanced, illuminating twisted vines and crumbling stone. Emily's heart raced, a mix of trepidation and anticipation pounding in her ears. Each step felt heavier, as if the maze itself was testing their resolve. She glanced back at her companions, Nora, who had taken the lead, and the stranger whose name she still didn't know, both faces reflecting a mirrored blend of determination and fear. "Stay close." Nora's voice rang out, cutting through the suffocating darkness that threatened to envelop them. Emily felt a sense of safety in their bond. They were a team, and no matter what lay ahead, they would face it together. As they neared the source of the light, a hollow became visible, shimmering like a hidden gem buried in the earth. It was larger than life, glowing softly, flickering like a heartbeat. The pulsating glow seemed to beckon them, whispering promises of answers and revelations. Emily felt a tug deep in her chest. "What do you suppose it is?" asked the stranger, his voice shaky yet infused with a flicker of excitement. I think it's what we've been looking for," Emily responded, her breath catching as they reached the edge of the hollow. Suddenly, shadows began to shift behind the light. Dark forms danced around the edges, creeping closer like memories surfacing from the depths of her mind. Emily's heart dropped. "What is happening?" she breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "Don't look away," Nora urged, glancing sideways at Emily. "This is exactly what we came for. The maze isn't just about fear, it's about understanding what haunts us. We need to face it." With shaky resolve, Emily took a step forward, drawn toward the glow. The dark shadows weaved in and out, and she could almost see faces familiar, yet twisted. Each one held a piece of her past, echoing half-remembered moments of happiness and despair. "Can you see them?" Emily searched the faces around her. "They feel so familiar." "Don't let them take you," the stranger warned, stepping back as the shadows grew bolder. Emily took another step, feeling the undeniable urge to know what the light had to say. The shadows lunged at the brightness, clawing at the retreating glow. It was as if they were battling for control, the light for hope and truth, and the shadows for doubt and fear. "Together!" she screamed, reaching out to Nora and the stranger. "We cannot let the darkness win." With a newfound strength, they united around her, hands clasped tightly. Suddenly, the light surged, blinding and exuberant, pulling all three closer. The shadows momentarily dissipated, and the faces within began to shift. Emily gasped as they transformed from haunting figures into images of love and warmth, moments she had buried deep in her heart, a child's laughter, a warm embrace, a family gathering. It was her life, unfiltered and raw. But before Emily could fully embrace the warmth of those memories, an eerie figure broke through the shadows. Its presence felt oppressive, chilling her to the core. Glaring eyes locked onto her, filled with a menacing understanding. "Who are you?" Emily whispered, trembling as she broke the circle to step forward. "I am what you fear most," the figure responded, voice a low rumble that echoed through the hollow. "I am your truth, the part of yourself you've tried to escape." Emily's breath hitched. She realized that confronting this truth was her only way out. The only path to freedom lay in understanding herself, in embracing the shadows alongside the light. What would she choose? Would she confront the darkness, or would she allow it to consume her? As the figure loomed closer, the pulse of the light flickered uncertainly. Emily felt her heart racing as she prepared to confront her deepest fears. The question now hung heavy in the air: would her courage be enough to face what awaited her, or would she be lost to the shadows forever? Emily stood at the edge of the brightness, trembling but resolute. The figure before her shimmered with darkness and regret. "I am the part of you that you've hidden," it whispered, a haunting echo resonating within her. Every moment of despair, every fragment of self-doubt, it all converged into this one figure. But she understood now. This wasn't merely a monster, it was a part of her that needed healing. As daunting as it seemed, this shadow was born from neglect and fear, the very things she had allowed to define her. With every ounce of courage, she stepped forward, releasing the hands that held her steady. "You don't control me anymore," she declared, her voice rising above the uncertainty. "I am not afraid of you. You're part of my story, but you do not define who I am." The menacing form faltered, allowing a glimpse of vulnerability in its ethereal gaze. Emily drew strength from the warmth of memories flooding in her mind, the laughter of loved ones, the nurturing touch of her family, and the bonds she had forged in this small community. "We are shaped by our experiences," she continued, feeling the energy of her friends rallying behind her. "But we are not just the shadows, we are also the light." Suddenly, the glowing brightness surged, responding to her words. The shadows crackled with energy, twisting and swirling, as if understanding the truth she'd woven. The darkness shrank back, and she pressed on. I'm ready to embrace all of me, even the parts 1ve feared, she declared fiercely. Together, we can lift each other up. It's time for healing. The figures around her began to soften, the edges of the dark figure blurring as if they were melding into the light itself. The hollow pulsed with vibrant colors, reflecting her affirmation of wholeness. She felt it an undeniable surge of unity, warmth enveloping her heart. Nora and the stranger stepped forward, standing tall beside her. We're with you, they echoed, their voices weaving into a chorus. The crowd, once afraid, now joined in, a wave of resilience washing over the hollow. I am not just from the city. Emily shouted, feeling the power of acceptance resonate. I belong to this community. I embrace my roots and everything we've created together. As their declaration filled the space, the bright light rushed forth, colliding with the dark figure. Emily felt the echo of the transient pain transform into something beautiful, a reminder, a guide, a lesson. The figure began to dissolve, merging into soft glimmers of light, each strand reflecting the laughter that danced between neighbors and friends. The pulse of the light swelled, enveloping the entire hollow. And then, just like that, it erupted in brilliance, shining brighter than anything she had ever known. The shadows whispered their farewells, but they did not vanish, they transformed. The darkness became intertwined with the glow, creating a tapestry of stories that told of hardship and hope, loss and love. She smiled, feeling lighter. Together, we can cultivate something beautiful, she murmured, tears of joy filling her eyes, her heart bursting with gratitude. The memories of her struggles morphed into strength, she welcomed them. The crowd erupted in applause, their individual struggles now bubbling to the surface, a celebration of life's complexities. Emily felt radiant, surrounded by love and purpose. As the festival returned to life, its vibrancy unmatched, she breathed deeply. She understood now that every person, every secret hidden in the shadows mattered. They constructed a community not just of farms and fields, but of connected souls, vibrant with every story shared. In that moment, Emily grasped her uncle's comforting hand, sensing the acceptance enveloping them. Together, they had unearthed the magic of their past and embraced a future full of promise. As the last rays of the sun dipped below the horizon, Emily stood at the center of the festival, filled with love for her community. Let us continue to share our stories, our laughter. Let us not forget the light that shines within us. She called out, her heart bubbling with joy. Cheers erupted, the music playing once again, each note embodying the essence of transformation, reminding her that the journey is shared, profound, and always filled with the potential for growth. And so, united as one, they celebrated, a testament to resolve, acceptance, and the shimmering light of hope. But wait, before you take this moment with you, I need you to act. You need to subscribe now to keep our story alive and hear more. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm so we can grow even bigger. And don't hold back, comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Your support means the world to us.